too. I never got to take a nap today. Oh, shut up. You're a dad of 2. Are we doing this now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got...
Wow. 3?
No, you can't. You can't do it.
I'm at 1 now. I guess.
This is for the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Oh, ASMR.
If only it was a Jocko Go, but a rain will do.
White gummy bear as well. Cheers, sir.
Well, that's delicious. So on today's episode, we can start a little differently and just go straight into it, talking about the Thailand mission trip and just do a quick recap for anyone that's been wondering where the documentary is, basically. But
yeah,
we'll go through it all chronologically.
So I guess the first thing would be, how did we end up meeting Enoch and getting this kind of thing started if we're going chronologically?
So I had a few missionaries I was looking at helping. A couple have reached out, and there were a couple other I was interested in reaching out to. My goal is to try and do 1 mission trip a year. And like bigger mission trip, like documentary sized. And I didn't feel, I was praying about it, and I didn't really feel like a peace for any of them.
Yeah.
And I reached out to a friend of mine, and he was like, well, we've been supporting Enoch Kenway and the Kenways. Mm-hmm. I said, never heard of him.
Yeah,
who's that? So he sent me some information, and I sent Enoch this huge email, made sure I named a friend of ours, and I was like, I'm not fake. This isn't a robot. I would love to help.
I exist.
Yeah.
I make videos.
Yep.
Please answer me.
And I got an email like a day later. And then I kind of explained to him what 1334 does, and we solely exist to help nonprofits tell their story, and we want to help do media.
Yeah.
We want to do documentaries and help you get your story out. And then we set up that quick little podcast we did on Zoom, and started planning the trip from there.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of the quicker turnarounds from like meeting somebody virtually, having a response, doing the podcast, and then it's like, all right, what was it, like 5 months to basically kind of fundraise?
Oh, yeah. We had like...
So, I mean, it was a very quick turnaround to get from like point A of just like, hey, here's Enoch, this really tall Australian dude that lives in Thailand, to holy crap, we're on a plane to Thailand. Yeah. Like, it just seemed like it definitely God ordained, but like definitely like so quick.
And we didn't have that long because we realized like, oh crap, we got to start like fundraising like now. And this year we have raised the most money as an organization that we've ever raised,
which is incredible,
which is absolutely mind-blowing. And I believe a lot of that has to do with us getting funding to go to Thailand and help share the Kenway story. And man, we planned like a 4 or 5 man team. And then after 2 months of raising money, we finally had enough to buy like 3 tickets, and the tickets literally doubled
in price.
And so
what was it? It went from like $1,200 a ticket, maybe?
Yeah.
Like give or take $1,200 a ticket to then $2,500 per ticket.
Yep. And then it went to...
in a day.
We were going to try and get some, and then we were like, well, we just need to raise a few more dollars, and we'll be able to buy 3 of them. And then they went up another $500 a piece, which was insane. And so we were like, okay, we got to go ahead and we have enough for 2 tickets. We just have to get 2 tickets. So we got the 2 tickets, and then we raised enough money to get 1 more ticket.
Yeah. And
on that day, the day of, they went to 11,000 $1,000 a ticket.
But we did have that one moment where Delta was like, oh,
Dude, yeah.
we can fix this. And then like 6 hours later of you being on the phone, it was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, they were like, I don't know who told you that, but we can't fix it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just want to add somebody to my flight. Can I just pay the same ticket price? And they were like, yeah, dude, absolutely. So I called the board, and I was like, hey, they said we could do it. And the board was like, okay, go ahead and get it. And then I called them back and was on the phone for a couple hours, and they were like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. Whoever told you that's getting fired. Yeah, no, it was definitely a journey. Like you were saying, like, it was probably the quickest amount I've ever seen people like band together to raise the money. We posted a couple of podcasts, like with Dustin, a couple of videos with my wife Bailey, and really just had the community back us here in Albany. And then all of a sudden went from like this 5-man team of like, dude, we're going to have 2 videographers at all times, 2 photographers. And then it turns out me and you with 3 cameras in a dream.
Yep.
And so like going into that, like I'll definitely say like for myself, like the expectation was like, holy crap, this is about to be a lot of work.
Yep.
And are we going to be able to pull this off? So like knowing what we know now, but we didn't know back then, like what were your thoughts whenever it was just like down to me and you doing this 10-day documentary trip to basically tell a whole entire story with 2 cameras in a dream? Well, 3 cameras.
Well, so, you know, I got my start in like when I did the India thing for a month by myself. And so, and I've gotten better since then. So I was confident that I could get stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if it was going to be the same quality, the same quantity. And I was just nervous that I wouldn't be able to tell their story properly. I'm like, they're giving me a full week and a half of their time. And I want to be able to honor their story and hopefully get some eyes on it and hopefully get them some funding. Because, you know, they're fully donor funded, and they still work jobs trying to, you know, make enough to do their ministry full time. And I was like, I've just got to, even $100 for them is drastic. Yeah, like with the currency exchange and everything. So going into it, I was exhausted because we had to wake up at 2 a.m. We drove down to Jacksonville, got there by 10, and then
went to sleep at 11, had to wake up at 2.
Yep. And then,
but our Uber driver got there 30 minutes early.
We were supposed to leave at 3, right? And
and he got there at 2:30, so we're still like moping in the bed, like just trying to wake up.
Yeah.
And the Uber guy's like, I'm here. We're just like throwing stuff back into our bags, brushing our teeth really quick, and is just hopping in this into the car.
I couldn't believe that guy got there at 2:30. I didn't want to be awake at 2:30, let alone drive to pick somebody up.
I think at that point we should have just stayed awake.
Yeah,
like there was a pointless like 3-hour nap in between of just like them waking up being super groggy.
And we didn't hardly eat the day before, and then we go to the airport.
Yeah, because we worked that day, didn't we?
Yeah, we worked. Yeah. So we
worked and got off of work, drove straight to Jacksonville, basically. Told our wives, you told your kids goodbye, and we're just like, all right, we're going to be gone the next 10 days.
See ya. Yeah, that was not fun.
Yeah, no. Next time we're definitely going to do a midday flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the flight, got to say, that airport, the TSA, was probably the fastest and greatest because we didn't have to break down all of our camera equipment for the first time.
Every other time I've flown, I've had to like take every piece of all the batteries out, show them what the hard drive is, show them the laptop.
Every single SD card, every single battery has to be taken out. And we're the guy that's holding up the TSA line for like a solid 20 minutes and just like...
They scanned the bag, saw that it was all camera equipment. There's nothing else in my carry-on, just camera crap. And looked at it. He says, "Is this yours?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, here you go." I was like, dude, there's no way.
I think the only thing they swapped was the drone, or they were like looking at the drone.
They did.
That was like the only thing, and I was like,
Like swab the drone case or something?
Well, because I think me and you started taking everything out of the bag, and they looked at us and was like, no, just keep it in the bag. And we're like,
yeah, 'cause
excuse me?
I hadn't flown with a drone as a carry-on, so I was like, are we going to have to, like, open this up, open the Pelican case,
Show what it is.
take everything out? And they were like, no, dude, you're good. And thank the Lord, because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and the last thing I wanted to do was rip the drone and everything out. But then we got on the plane, had some good turbulence, made it to Korea.
Yeah, Seoul.
And
Or
then
Seoul, however you say it.
left Korea, landed in Thailand at 10, 11 that night.
I think we landed at like 9:30, got through check and I guess border security, whatever.
Yeah, and because when we left,
Immigration, I guess would be technically.
from
but
the
like,
time we left work until getting there was like right around 46 hours, I think.
Yeah, because the flight was 22, 24?
22.
Yeah, because it was like 16
It was
hours
16 and
to
6.
Seoul.
Seattle.
Hey, it's Seattle. No, to Korea. And then we had like a 1 hour layover that we slept in the chairs and ate decent egg sandwiches at Dunkin'
From
Donuts.
Dunkin', yeah.
Because that's the only restaurant they had in the whole entire airport. So yeah, it was like 16 hours and then 6 hours. We landed, got through border security, grabbed our bags. Enoch was waiting for us, and
Did our currency exchange, and then he was like, you want to eat? We were like, dude, yes, please. Anything, real food.
anything that's not this terrible economy, basic economy, airplane food.
God, it was terrible.
Oh, so bad. That was probably the worst no, I take that back. Like probably
I've had really bad airplane
the
food.
worst airplane food was whenever me and Bailey, my wife, did the India trip for 1334 last year.
Yeah.
And we flew Delta to Canada, and then it turned into Air Canada to France or something like that. It was crazy. Whatever, Mr. Ken. Appreciate you, Mr. Ken. But yeah, it was like Air Canada's food. The pancakes tasted like
They had
cardboard.
pancakes?
It was Canadian. Okay, it had
Oh.
flapjacks, but it tasted like wet cardboard with sugar water.
Delicious.
And like all you could really eat was like they always gave you a French baguette, like a little quarter piece of a baguette, and that's like all you could eat because everything else was just horrible.
My
So
first trip to India had the worst airplane food. It
yeah,
was
that's whenever
like-
they break out the curry right before, and then
but it's-
everybody's stomach gets upset.
and it was all like just the worst kind of Walmart microwavable Indian food you can get. I'm not even sure it was real rice.
And it
to be honest with you.
smells like that the whole flight. Well,
Yep.
the rest of the flight.
And usually that's like your first meal, thankfully. So, you know, you get to smell it for another 12, 13 hours.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Oh, dude, that flight on the way there was the one that my screen didn't work. I spent
Oh, yeah.
15 hours I had nothing on my phone, nothing to look at, no music downloaded, and you were a whole seat away from me, and my screen wouldn't do anything. So I literally sat still and meditated for 15
All right, I'm going to look in the camera for this one. All right, guys. So, basic flight tip 101. Here's your short Instagram reel. Get YouTube Premium. It's $15. You pay for other nonsense. Get YouTube Premium and download a bunch of stuff. So then whenever the TV shows, the movies, or whatever are absolutely awful, you have a backup plan. And it was great because I watched a bunch of documentaries. I watched whatever I wanted because it was all downloaded. I had,
Oh, that'd be nice.
oh yeah, it must be nice. I mean, you know, you
Dude,
could
that
have.
was terrible. I had nothing.
I mean,
I didn't
You
even
had
have-
book. You brought books,
I finished,
like 2
I
books.
think I finished 2 books.
Yeah.
I finished one book I've been trying to finish for a while. Shout out to the Jack Carr, because, you know, he'll watch this, right?
I don't read books, so I don't know anything about Jack Carr.
Phenomenal writer. Great storyteller. Yeah, I finished Only the Dead? One of the more recent ones. Anyway, I read, finished the book, and then sat there and did nothing. I watched this guy in front of me watched what's that movie? That movie where they're like
Oh yeah, that
on
movie?
the helicopter.
Wow.
Like, the blonde chick and the guy from
so many movies.
Top Gun. It's that guy from Top Gun. I wish we had one of those producers. Look it up.
Hey, Jamie, can you pull that up on Google while we're talking still?
Pull that
pull
up.
it up. Pull it up. Real quick.
That was quick.
We'll just put it right here. Just
What
kidding.
is-
We don't have that high of a budget.
We don't have a budget.
I haven't. Yeah, I know. I haven't watched too many movies honestly
Well,
here recently, so
It
I
was
really
like-
cannot.
It was like a chick flick, right? And this dude
flick.
in front of me,
I don't
He
know.
was mid-30s, maybe.
Yeah.
He watched this movie, I kid you not, 3 times in a row.
He was probably using that to fall asleep.
He started the movie, and I was like, oh, that's that. What is it called? Among Us? Alone with Us? I think
Yeah, just keep naming everything, and
Yeah.
one day you'll eventually get it. You know.
it's Glenn Powell from Top Gun is in it. Anyway,
Anyhow,
he watched this movie, and I was like, oh, I've seen ads for this. Mm-hmm. And then this other guy's watching Transformers, so I look over there and I watch Transformers.
with no audio,
No audio. I'm just watching. He didn't have
just
subtitles
vibing,
on or anything.
just vibing.
I'm just lip reading and guessing.
I think I watched a couple of episodes of Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations. Never really watched that as a kid. Well, because it was Anthony Bourdain, but dude, phenomenal when it comes to like food critique and all that kind of stuff. But literally, it's just
The only one I watched was the guy that eats the like brains and stuff. Who's that
that's Adam, not Adam, Andy. I know he's a bigger bald guy.
guy? Yeah.
Yeah. So his is Weird Foods or something like that. Anthony Bourdain was a chef, and he basically does what we try to do with 1334. He'll just go to a random place, meet some locals, and then just have them show him the culture,
Oh, that's
but
cool.
through food.
That's neat.
So like each episode, like one of the episodes was he was snowboarding in like the Alps or something and met with like some locals from a grunge band that he liked.
What?
Yeah. And they basically just showed him around to like different taverns and bars and like different homesteads of like food, and just kind of learned about the culture and everything through that. So highly recommend.
That's pretty legit.
But to get us back on track, we landed, met up with Enoch, and we ate at this beautiful restaurant on the side of the street at 11:30 p.m.
It's a lady in a tent
A lady in a tent.
with she only had half of a table, but dude, that food was phenomenal. I don't know if it was because it was Thai food or if it was because we had hardly eaten.
It was
in
the
2
Thai
days.
food, because I know we'll talk a little bit more on it, but I never had a bad meal.
No, it was all good.
We had chicken. What was it? No, it was pork intestines.
Yeah,
And it was the greatest thing ever.
it was delicious.
Yeah, so there was not a single bad meal. There was just either really spicy or not spicy at all. That was like the only level.
I still think about the sticky rice into the really spicy broth.
Okay, we'll get there.
It's so good.
So yeah, we're on the side of the road.
Yes.
It was
Oh,
just
yeah.
raining.
I don't
No.
remember. No, it was dark.
Yeah.
But we sit down and we just start. Enoch's like, I can't believe you guys are here. And we're like, honestly, I can't believe it either. And he basically, we just start planning out the rest of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at, this is what we need to do in order to complete the documentary. This is where we need to go.
Yep.
And so he's looking at like the church timeline because he's a part of Victory Church Chiang Mai. And
We got some merch on today. Boo.
I wish I had mine on. Yeah. I couldn't find it.
Shout out to Pastor Sean.
So we're planning out everything based off of, because they're having a guest speaker and they're doing this. For the first time, they're doing this one night, which is like a worship kind of, like a worship.
Basically
and-
would be kind of like an encounter night here
Yeah.
in the States, like where it's just worship and then like a message, but it's on an off day versus like a Sunday,
Yeah.
which
So we basically start planning everything out,
Mm-hmm.
put a tentative schedule together,
Mm-hmm.
and go find our hotel and pass out for 6 or 7 minutes.
Oh yeah, speaking of the little lady in the tent, Would you like to tell everybody how much that food was? Was it like 50 cent American dollar? Like 75 cent per bowl?
Yeah, something like, I think it cost $3 for all three of us to eat.
And it was
that.
like, it wasn't like bowls. It was,
No,
like,
it was like
bowls.
Yeah, it was like a good
Hot broth. Oh, my God. My
was
mouth
so
is
good.
salivating now for Thai food again.
We're about to go into Thanksgiving, but we're thinking about Thai food. Is that bad?
No, I think I think culturally we need to get rid of dry turkey and just start adding pad thai to
Dude,
the
even if you cook turkey right, it still sucks.
or krapao.
That was so good.
So good. But so yeah, we get to the hotel,
Yes.
take a good rest. And then in the morning we meet back up with the Enoch, and one of the things that I forgot, and I know both of us are coffee guys. I kind of started in the coffee business before you, kind of got you a little bit more involved in what third wave coffee and everything is.
We're nerds.
We're nerds as we drink.
Hey, this is just to make it through.
I mean, fair, but we are at a coffee shop.
We're in a coffee shop.
In a
This
coffee
is to
shop,
make it through.
drinking energy drinks at like 10 p.m.
9:35. 9:36.
9:36. So not Korea. Well, yes. So like Korea has been kind of like the dominating like force when it comes to third wave coffee, and I guess it's kind of trickled its way into Thailand, which I never expected.
Oh, I had no idea.
Because like as much like coffee roasting that I've helped with and kind of learned whenever I was working for a coffee shop here in town, I never really heard about Thai roasted coffee.
No.
It was always like, you know, your Ethiopians, your Guatemalans, all this other kind of stuff. But holy guacamole, bro. We went to some random coffee shop,
Dude, every coffee shop was amazing.
and I think I just got like a shot of espresso just to be like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to try the light roast. Let's see what they're cooking with.
Oh, yeah, this was the first one. They had 4 different...
And it was right across the street from our
Grinders.
hotel. Yeah. And it was like you had 2 light roast, 1 medium roast, and like a dark roast.
The medium was like a berry, some sort of berry
Yeah.
type, and 2 different origins for the light roast.
I got like a Ethiopian light roast.
And even the
it
dark
was-
roast was a medium.
Yeah.
The correct way.
But like I got this beautiful like, oh, it's gonna taste like green apples and stuff, and I'm like, you know, I've heard that from other coffee shops, and it tastes like toothpick water. But dude, it tasted just like green apples with like honey, and I'm sitting here looking at you, you're looking at me, and we're like, and it's only like $1
Yeah.
for like a latte, and I'm like,
I couldn't believe
this
how
is
good the coffee was.
dangerous.
So one thing that I really found interesting was the culture of Thailand is very like community based. So their coffee is not caffeine or I need this to get to work. All their coffee shops are designed around like an experience. And
Hanging
I realized,
out. Working, whatever.
I realized that that's how the whole like culture is. Like your food, you for the most part typically do like a buffet kind of style.
Yeah, you order a bunch of stuff, and everybody at your table, you just
Yeah.
pick and eat
Yeah, and
as you go. Yeah.
because it's all about like the friendships
Yeah.
and your family and having conversations and just enjoying the moment with
Putting
people.
the phone down.
Yeah. And the coffee shop experience was exactly the same way. And then even like the grocery stores and the gas stations and stuff, like all of them, it was the same way. Like even the walking street, like you see people lined on both sides of the street, like vendors.
Yep.
And it's just about hanging out with your friends.
Everybody's just sitting there eating or just
Go grab food and go sit by a picnic table. And I think, so after talking to Enoch for a while and creating this documentary, like, I realized that what made Enoch so successful at church planning wasn't his ability to read scripture or preach or anything. It was literally his ability to just walk in the Spirit everywhere he goes and just be himself, be friendly,
Yeah.
create friends, and he just adopted the Thai
He
culture.
literally just brings people together. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not even like a salesman type thing. It's like one of those like characteristics like only few have, honestly, where
Yeah.
like he can walk into a room and not like force people like, you're going to be this guy's friend. It was
It
like,
just happens.
yeah, he just naturally brings people into the conversations. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is like a new friend of mine now.
And I realized that that's exactly what made him so successful in creating a church in Thailand.
Yep.
And like, because he started with these like small groups, and
Little house church. Yeah.
that's all or small groups, like small groups of people, like that's how he did all of it. It was quite literally just hanging out with people.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, why are you like this? Well, this is what I believe.
Yep.
And it just opened up this door. And that's kind of what this whole documentary is about. It's
Yep.
about his journey from first getting there to now he's helping other like Thai locals to find that same type of,
Community.
I almost want to say spirit, atmosphere. Like it's like it's a fruit of the spirit, essentially. Like it's the
Yeah.
ability to walk more like Christ, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And-
Absolutely.
Obviously this isn't like a Christian podcast or anything, but that's what he did.
Yeah.
Which I found was so interesting. Like whether you believe in what the Bible teaches or not, like he followed whatever the Bible teaches as much as he could, and it just brought people together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so unique about this story. Like you see all the time these like documentaries about evangelicals, and
Yep.
they're out in the street praying for people and seeing people healed, which is cool. But this is such a whole
Shout out
different.
Darren Wilson.
Yeah. Dude, that guy's amazing.
Dude, insane.
But this is a whole other side that I feel like no one ever sees.
Yeah. It's the mundane.
Oh, yeah.
Like it truly was like not jumping too far ahead, but like, you know, one of the days we went to one of the men's group at a coffee shop. And of course we don't speak a lick of Thai. So we're just sitting in the corner, just editing photos and just kind of like watching this community be built. And he also hosts one at his house that we went to as well. But like getting to hear like, Pawn talk about it, like, cause he was kind of translating a little bit in English. But just like how he's able to like take these, I don't want to say these people, that's so rude. How he takes like the young adults from Thailand that are in their area, who 98% are Buddhist,
Yeah.
take them and then put them into a community of believers, and not like to like Bible thump them over the head.
No, not at all.
But like he was there answering all the questions of like, you know, what happens, like I think one of the guys was asking about like, is it okay to go to another church?
Yeah, yeah. He was asking, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
He was asking if it's okay can you talk to other pastors and listen to what other pastors say?
Yeah.
Because in their culture, like in the Buddhist, you find whatever.
Follow like a monk or whatever.
Yeah, you follow whatever they say, you do it, you know? And you follow that guy.
Yeah.
It's all about that guy. If you want to talk to God, you talk to that guy. And Enoch and Sean were like, no, dude, it's not how it is at all.
Just come.
Yeah, just go wherever you want.
Yeah.
Enoch was like, go, you know, I would recommend sticking to one. That
Like,
way you're not bouncing back
embedding
and forth
yourself in a
every
local
week.
church. Yeah.
He's like, stick to a local church and plant your roots in one.
Yeah.
But don't feel like you have to try and please everybody. It's not about pleasing people.
But yeah, what I was going to go with that is like that ability, like the whole church boom really came about by him being super consistent going to soccer on Thursdays.
Oh,
and
yeah,
after
that was crazy.
after church on Sundays.
Yep.
Like he has this whole massive group, and this is when we went to was it Chiang Mai yeah.
Shanghai was the one at night.
Yeah, so like we went to Chiang Mai, which is his old stomping ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this group of like 20 to 30 young adults are showing up to absolutely smoke anybody that goes out there. I dare anybody to try somebody in Thailand in soccer. You'll get beat by an 8-year-old. I pulled something. That's how good they are. But he takes this community from soccer, focuses a little bit on Christ, but then it's just like his consistency. And I learned this over at the Dream Center in Alabama whenever our missions director at the church that we attend here locally took us to. And one of the things that they said, it's like, you're never going to impact a community if you're not consistent. So like the reason that they have such a hold on the homeless population in Alabama is because every single week they know exactly that this church is going to be here every Saturday at 3 p.m. No earlier, no later. And they have done that consistently for years. And so now this community, like the homeless community, not only like receives from them, but also like if like one of the volunteers that's usually there on Saturdays, they're like, hey, is Jan okay? Because she's not here. She's usually here every Saturday. Like, I just want to make sure. And it's that consistency that he has built in Thailand.
Yeah, that's exactly
like he has
what it
built
is.
so much consistency with the young adults and Sean too.
Yeah.
Let me not forget about Pastor Sean. But they built so much consistency in who they are, but also just putting themselves in the community itself and just staying consistent.
That, I believe that consistency is exactly, he says that they planted the fastest growing church, and they stayed the fastest growing church for 4 years straight.
Yep.
And I think that's exactly why, because no matter what, he was there, you know, like he was telling about all the renovations he did by hand.
Yep.
They had flooding. He was there by hand cleaning up after the floods.
Talk about the floods that happened whenever we left.
Yeah, they just had floods a couple months ago.
Massive rain and it was monsoon season, right?
Yeah, and they had I don't even know the river. I don't know exactly how it happened.
It was one of the rivers that flooded.
But a ton of Chiang Mai, where they live now, was flooded. Mm-hmm. And every day, Enoch, Pon, a bunch of the guys from the church, they were out cleaning up.
Oh.
Like, no, I'm sure Pastor Sean was too. I know Pastor Sean was affected. His whole like kitchen, everything was ruined. But that's what they did.
He was out there. They were out there every single day because like we got updates on Facebook and stuff. But like it was once again just consistent. Like every single member of that church was either helping or being helped at the time. And I mean, he even helped organize like the military and sandbags and like making sure that the sandbags go, you know, in the correct position. But like we saw it firsthand there, but then saw it. It's not like I'm putting this on for a show. It's like, no, this is just who I am.
That's just who he is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why, that's exactly how you get to a place where you're doing things no one's done. You get, I guess, awards, essentially. Like, that's how you become great at anything.
Yeah.
Like, Mike Tyson was both talent and discipline.
Yeah.
And it takes both to become a great. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Enoch's the Mike Tyson of church planning, but
he's a little too skinny for that.
A little too Australian.
Whippersnipper.
But I think it's the same thing. Like, it takes both that talent and the discipline.
Yeah.
And I think he's got both. And I think that's exactly why him and Pastor Sean go so well together.
Yeah.
Pastor Sean has the talent and the discipline. That whole church, Victory in Chiang Mai, they have the talent and the discipline. Yep. New Life in Chiang Rai that Enoch planted.
Yep.
He raised up all these pastors, and he made sure they had the talent and the discipline. I think that's what it's taking to reach a community that's like 98% 94% Buddhist and 4% Muslim.
Yeah,
It's
and then like
because-
less than 1% Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think it's 1.2 or something like that.
Very minuscule
Yes,
in a
tiny,
country that
tiny.
size. Yeah.
Like 1 out of 100.
Yeah.
But I think that's exactly how you do it. You have the talent and the discipline. And yeah, I'm excited to release this documentary because it's I enjoy it. I need to go back and watch it. I don't think I've watched it front to back, honestly. And
I mean, you've been editing it since we left, which we'll talk more
before we left,
about the edit. Yeah.
I was able to edit content for them to use while I was there.
Yep.
Gave it to them, and they
Sean used it to make a teaser or
yeah.
something for church. Yeah.
Sean and
Oh, is
Michael
there
were
1 year?
using-
Was it their 1 year anniversary we were there? Or we left right before it?
So I filmed some. I filmed a couple of interviews. No, a bunch of interviews.
We interviewed like
6.
every staff member of that church.
Yeah, maybe it was 7 or 8 interviews for them, and then did interview with Sean and Lindsay, and then gave them B-roll. I think I gave him like 400 gigs of footage.
Yeah.
And they started putting together their 1 year video because they had a 1 year anniversary. Was it of being in the building?
I think it was the building.
It was an anniversary of some kind.
I feel bad, but it's also been a long time. It feels like it has almost been a whole half a year.
Been about 6 months.
Yeah.
Um,
God, time flies.
However, the documentary's submitted to the Christian Worldview Film Festival, hosted at Sherwood Church. So I hope it does well, because whatever I submitted is there.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more on Thailand real quick, and then I do want to ask you some questions on, the editing process and like what it kind of what it takes to, sort through footage, do that kind of stuff when it comes to this documentary. So I definitely want to get there. But like, one of the things that really shook me, and I'm sure shook you, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it. Like, knowing that it's a country that's 94% Buddhist, what was it like seeing statues of Buddha
yeah.
that were taller than almost the Empire State Building in New York?
Dude, so that was insane. So one of them, which one do we talk about first? There was the Blue Temple.
Yep.
That I had the camera. I had an FX30, a cinema camera, with a shotgun mic on it, on the Ronin,
Yep.
which is a gimbal stabilizer.
Yep.
And I just started walking up the stairs. I was like, I wonder if somebody's going to stop me. And I walked up the stairs, or took my shoes off.
Yeah.
Then I walked up the stairs. No one said anything. And then I just kept walking. There were like 40 or 50 people sitting down praying.
Meditating and praying, yeah.
And there were a couple people. I think there was a guy taking a picture. And no one stopped me. No one said anything. And I just kept filming. I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use this footage. I can't even see the screen right now. But I'm in here, and I have got to shoot this right now.
Yeah.
I thought that was insane. And then I went and did, like, shots of the outside of the building.
Yeah.
I think most of that's actually in the
All the
documentary.
architecture was insane at those temples. Like you're
Yeah.
talking like, how in the South we have a Dollar General on every corner, a Waffle House on every corner. There is literally a Buddha temple
Oh, they were everywhere.
on every single corner. Like
Yeah.
even beside Victory Church,
Yeah.
I don't think it's an active temple, but there is a temple beside the church.
And I mean, we have churches every mile and a half here, so I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But they put in some work into some of these. There was one that we parked in the parking lot, and there were security guards everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember. No, we all got out. We opened the trunk, took the drone out, set it next to the car, and everybody hopped back in.
Yep.
And then I launched the drone from the parking lot.
Yep.
as fast as I could. I got it up in the air.
Was that the one that was like the massive?
Yeah, it was the white, the giant white one.
Yeah, that was the one that literally like probably like 8 or 10 stories tall.
I think so. There's like windows on the back side where you could see
Over the city.
like you could see like how
Yeah.
how tall it really was. And it was on top of a mountain, and there was like 3 or 4 million steps leading up to it. And then there was like these 2 other temples right next to it. It was huge.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. Like, you go through all these trees and up this mountain and take a turn, and then it's like, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
And
Which the shot looked amazing, by the way.
yeah, it was cool. I used that one too. I think that was
Yeah.
the intro.
Was that the one where we couldn't land the drone
Yeah.
in the parking lot? So we had to drive
Yeah.
with the drone kind of.
So the security guards were looking up and looking around at the drone.
Yep.
And so I pulled it to another parking lot, waited till the car got over there, and dropped it right next to the car. Mm-hmm. And then we hopped out, grabbed it, and drove off as fast as we could.
That was crazy. All that was crazy.
That's some of the fun stuff about documentary filmmaking. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Is there's so much like, I mean, I grew up listening to punk and metal music, and
Yeah.
like there's just some kind of rebellious thing about documentary filmmaking. Like,
You kind of have to be like with what you want to capture. Like you can't just be super passive. Like I
Yeah.
know like I'm more of a passive shooter. Like I don't want to get in your face with photography and stuff, but like you're one of those guys that's just like, I really don't care. And
Nope.
so like you'll go up to a guy, like we were in one of the night markets. He just walked up to the guy and was like, "Hey, can I come back here and just watch you make pad thai?" And he was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Dude, absolutely."
yeah, I had to go get Michael, who has helped us film.
One of the greatest filmmakers, this is my personal opinion, one of the greatest filmmakers in Thailand, shot a couple of music videos.
Oh, he's
self-taught.
awesome. Yeah,
Super incredible, dude.
he's
super
awesome.
incredible.
He's really good at what he does. And I was like, Michael, will you help me really quick? He said, "What's up?" I said, "I really want to get a shot of that guy cooking the pad thai because one, I could hear it. I was like, I really want to hear this. And then for 2, he's using this gigantic wok,
Yeah.
and he's cooking pad thai over and over and over again. And we just ordered from him, so I was
Yeah.
like, maybe he won't care. He said, "Sure, I'll go ask." Michael's like me. He's like, "I don't
Yep.
care. I'll ask anybody anything. All you could say no. It's fine."
Yeah.
But the dude said yes. So I got back there and got a shot over his shoulder. I was,
Yeah, because he told you to get closer. He like at first you were kind of a little bit off,
Yeah.
and he's like, "No, come." Like,
yeah. I was back there, but I was a little backed up.
Yep.
Partially because I didn't want him to hit the camera.
Yeah.
Because he was going ham. I had the really wide lens on, and man, he got it. That shot's so cool. That's one of the opening shots too.
Yeah.
I think it's in the trailer too, because
Yeah.
I got like 3 or 4 good shots from that. And
Oh, yeah,
I think
they-
I used every one of them.
Yeah. No, they were definitely solid shots, but like,
And there was a dude, the other guy who was like taking orders,
Yep.
yelling out numbers.
yep.
It was cool.
Which the pad thai was incredible from that place as well.
So
So,
good.
I mean, like I said, there was not like a single.
We used that clip I got to learn how to make pad thai and made it here.
And it was amazing.
It was.
Was not as good as over there,
No.
but it did the trick.
It was close enough.
So I'll ask you this because we've been flip flopping around. What was like one of the key lessons that maybe you learned, picked up, or like what was like one of your fond memories that like stays in your head rent free from Thailand?
As far as like filmmaking or
Anything. Just anything. I mean, you could do like one that's filmmaking and one that's not filmmaking.
one I think about all the time is the community aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are times where we'll be eating dinner and I'll do like that layout for the food. Like, I think about that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
putting the phone away, putting distractions away, and like actually being in the moment and having
Yeah.
conversations with the people around me.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things. I think about that all the time.
I agree.
For filmmaking, one, buy tickets sooner. Like as soon as you think about it, buy tickets.
If you have the funds.
Yes.
Or fundraise earlier.
Fundraise earlier. I thought about that. Ask Corey to film more, or demand Corey films more.
Hey. It's not
Try
that
to-
I didn't.
try-
Hold on, no,
try-
you can't
try-
just throw
no,
this out
try-
at me.
No.
No, I definitely would have filmed more if you would have said anything. But I was like, oh, cool. I can just keep doing photography. I got some dope photos.
You did.
Got some of my best photography work out there. And
We need to post them all, actually.
we do need to post all those.
Do I have them? I think I have the raws.
I
don't
have them
the
on my
edits.
phone.
You have all the edits? Mm-hmm. Airdrop them to me. We need to get those posted.
We're on the podcast. I can't airdrop them to you right now. It's kind of rude. Jamie, can you go ahead and airdrop those to him, please, if you don't
Can
mind?
you pull that up?
Yeah,
Can you pull that up?
Can you pull that up right here? But yeah, no, like I definitely would have shot more, and I think that's one
But
of
it's fine.
yeah,
The biggest thing was, as I was editing, I thought I had enough as we shot. I had 928 gigs of footage. I should have gotten a
almost
bigger
a whole
hard drive.
terabyte. That's crazy.
And then I was like, I'm sure that's enough. And then I start editing, and I'm like, dude, I need more B-roll. I
Yeah.
need more shots of this. I need more shots of this. And that's just one of those things, like, you don't really know.
Until you get down to the nitty gritty of editing.
And that's why I started doing some of the editing, but I couldn't, like, really start piecing the story together.
Yeah.
I created an outline for the story and ended up following that outline almost to the T, but I wasn't able to know, like,
Yeah.
well, when he says this, to keep the pacing the right way, I'm going to need a shot here and then need a shot here. So we ended up using Eddie Rivas, really cool animator here in town. He's been animating for 15 years. So he hand drew a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
And so all the hand drawn stuff in the documentary, he hand drew and then did this
Converted it.
did this like memory kind of animation over it, which is really cool looking.
Yeah.
I think main thing is for filmmaking, maybe more B-roll. I really don't know. There's so many things, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like every single project I do, like I shot for a guy today, and every single project I do, I find something that I wish I did different.
Yeah.
And I guess it's hard because, like, I'm trying to be proud of my work, but at the same time, I always see the holes.
We're always our own worst critics whenever it comes to
I'm
everything.
just criticizing everything I'm doing, which
Yeah.
I guess isn't a terrible thing. Makes it hard to, like,
Yeah.
really enjoy what I've made.
Yeah.
But
Because I meant like in 10 days, we had shot basically from sun up to sundown every
Dude.
single day.
we
There was one day when we were doing all the interviews that we literally got there at like 7 a.m. and did not leave the church until like 9 p.m.
we pulled for filming. We filmed between 12 and 16 hours every day for 10 days straight,
Yeah.
which was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
I was exhausted.
think we both were. I definitely could say, like, I agree. A lot of the community aspects of, like, just personally, like the cool growth that we saw, and just like the things that we can bring back. Like you said, like just eating dinner together was like one of those small mundane things that just like meant so much. Like sitting down at a coffee shop and just talking, just being present in the moment.
And I mean, it took them 6 or 7 minutes to get your coffee.
Yeah.
Like, they're perfecting it
Yep.
back there. And so you just stand there and you talk to everybody in there. And so I actually have a shot of this. I can't remember if I actually used it or not. But it was on the way to the church opening in, what was it, the Doisica area?
Something like that. It was in the mountains.
Yeah, it was right outside Chiang Mai. But it was Pastor Sean, you, me, Enoch, Summer,
Michael,
and then
did we say Pawn?
I don't think Pawn was there yet. Jan and some of them
Yeah.
were all sitting down, and we were all just hanging out. And we just waited, waiting on our coffee, and just sat around, and hung out.
Yeah. That little coffee shop that was on the side of the road that we met Pastor Sean and them at.
Yeah, where Michael grabbed the camera, and he's like, "Can I film some of this?" I don't care.
Absolutely, bro.
Shoot,
please.
go for it.
Please.
And so I think I used some of that in the credit sequence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I made 4 credit sequences, so I'm not sure if it was in the final one or not. I'd have to go back and look.
Jamie, pull that up for us. Yeah, I definitely could agree also with like the filmmaking side of things. Like one of the things that we learn in vocals, like singing, is like if you don't hear a part, sing it. And I think like the same can kind of go for filmmaking. Like you want to just like almost in a sense like see the things that are not being shot and just shoot. Just like literally shoot everything. Like
everything.
if it's a bird flying, cool. That makes some pacing parts for the documentary. It could be, just eating food, whatever, tight shots. And there's so much that you could just do for that. I especially would say that like even with 2 people, like there's of course a lot of stuff that we could have done a lot differently.
Part of it is just so hard to shoot more because we were shooting so much.
Yeah.
And
having to dump constantly.
Yeah, constantly organizing and shooting and dumping the footage and organizing it. Like every morning I woke up at 6 and we had 2 hours till Enoch got there. So walked down to the 7, got snacks.
Can you explain the 7 to everybody?
It's just a 7-Eleven.
Okay. Mr. Fancy over here with I just went to the 7.
But it was like the only place we could walk to and
get breakfast.
Get snacks whenever we wanted.
Breakfast.
Barbecue sandwiches and
what, like
grilled cheeses and
octopus lays or something like that.
Seaweed lays and but we so I spent 2 hours every morning organizing and dumping footage. And then if I had time, a little bit of editing here and there.
Yeah.
That's how I made a few videos while we were there. But I was brain dead and exhausted. Yeah. Physically and mentally. Like, after 4 or 5 days of creating while
being jet lagged.
And jet lagged. Like,
because we were, 9.5 hours ahead? No.
11?
11 hours.
I think 11 hours.
Yeah, God.
10, something like that. It was rough.
Yeah.
That's the part I hate. And I hate being away from the family. But at the same, there's like the small moments of like, we drove down to the bottom of a mountain and flew the drone up the mountain into a temple.
Sickest shot ever.
And I flew around the temple. And I had quite literally 5 foot of area where I could actually get the drone up out of the trees and back down. And it's like the little dangerous stuff. That's the fun part. Hanging out the car and filming out the back of
while we're literally a mile up in the sky.
And filming out the back of Pond's Hilux. Like stuff like that's fun. And you get really cool shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of it can just be a bit. I think for me the most daunting thing was like, dude, I have to make a documentary out of this.
Yeah.
Like, I can make social media content all day long.
Yeah.
I can give it to somebody else and they can do whatever they want to with it. But I have to find a way to honor Enoch's story and create a documentary that tells the whole story.
Yep.
And do it while working a full-time job.
And let's be real. When we got there, we had what we thought was going to be our story, and that got turned upside down, and it completely kind of shifted to what the documentary is now.
Yeah.
Like, we we didn't go. We went into it going like, yeah, we're gonna tell this guy's story, but like as you're hearing the interviews, which I guess is a good little small point that you can talk about, like, and we can kind of lead into the edit. But like as you're listening to what Enoch is saying, you're finally getting to hear and see the story kind of unfold, and then you're like, okay, now I kind of can
start putting
know what
together.
I need to shoot for.
Yeah.
Because like you hear,
That's why I always shoot interviews first.
Yeah.
If I'm on a trip like that or any sort of like story shoot, I always shoot the interview first. And I love doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite. That's part of the reason I was cool with starting a podcast. Because like, it's not that I love talking. It's I love asking the right questions and getting the right response.
Yeah.
Like this right here, we're just hanging out and kind of recapping. But a lot of them are like, how did you do this?
Yeah.
Why? And then you ask why again.
Yeah.
Then you ask why again. Then you ask why again. And they think they think they know. Then you ask why again, and they're like, oh. And those are the moments.
Yeah.
And like taking somebody, which Enoch wasn't like this, but taking somebody that's not comfortable on camera, and by the time you're done filming them 30 minutes later,
Pawn.
they're super comfortable. Yeah.
Pawn.
That's how Pawn was.
Yep.
Like I couldn't use the first few minutes of his interview because he was really nervous about his English, even though his English is amazing.
Yeah.
And he kept talking to Enoch like, hey, am I saying this right? Enoch and I are like, dude, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Say however you want to say it. And he was just super nervous about his English. But after 5-10 minutes, he started to loosen up. And seeing that like transition during an interview is really fun for me too. I love doing it. Like we did so many interviews while we were there.
So many.
I almost thought about, if somebody actually wants this, let me know. But I thought about releasing uncut interviews as podcasts, just to see.
You know,
because I like listening to them.
Yeah.
Granted, I've listened to every one of them 7,000 times.
Yeah.
But, and I've listened to every interview I've ever done a crap ton of times. But I think that's the interesting, fun part of it, you know? But yeah, what did you want to talk about? The editing?
Yeah, so I just had a couple of questions about the edit. First off, how long from start to finish did it take you to edit this thing in its entirety?
I would need a calculator. We
ain't talking hours, but just like a rough estimate of like days, whatever.
So I roughly spent about between 20 and 30 hours a week, every week, from the day we got back, so mid-July, until October 31st.
Well, mid-June.
June? Was it June?
Yeah, because we left the day after my birthday.
That's right. So about June, 15th?
Yeah.
Ish until October 31st, every week between 20 to 30 hours a week. So however many hours that is.
Okay. So
a lot?
Yeah. 20 to 30 hours. I mean, you're basically working a part-time, full-time job.
Yeah.
On top of working an actual full-time job.
Yes. I work 40 hours a week to keep the lights on, and then I work however many other hours a week
for the passion project.
Yeah.
To keep your spiritual light on.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep the creative mind working.
Yeah, keep the creative mind going.
If you can't tell by us recording a podcast at 10 o'clock at night, the day before Thanksgiving.
You know, for some of us, it's a couple of hours before Thanksgiving because I got to be somewhere at 9 a.m. So we're out here.
That is dumb.
I agree.
Who does Thanksgiving breakfast?
It's not a breakfast. It's a brunch, basically.
Thanksgiving.
So I have a brunch tomorrow, a lunch tomorrow, a brunch Friday, a dinner Saturday.
What is Thanksgiving brunch, dude? Is it?
Don't ask me, bro. I'm just
turkey
here.
Biscuits? What is it?
I hate you. I'm bringing this back in. Okay, so with the editing process, how do you go from just having a bunch of footage to then telling a full story? Like, what is your process in it?
Do you want like the technical side of it? What are you asking?
I kind of want to see, like, what is your thought process when you go into an edit of like, okay, we just got back from Thailand. How do I figure out the story and then put the story together?
So what what good editors will tell you, what like Mark Bone does, and the editors he works with, I believe Lucas Harger, however you say his last name, I believe he does this as well. They do what's called the spine. They go through and they create a spine of the story. They know they want this interview here and this interview here, this interview clip here, and then they create that and they build the story around it.
Okay.
I'm not a good editor. I don't do that. I work chronologically. I have always done this. I don't know why. But I start with the intro, and then I get an idea for the outro, and then I work chronologically to put it together.
Okay.
So this time I had an outline of, I know I want this guy's interview here, then this guy, and then this guy, and this part of the story, and then this sequence, and then this interview. And so I knew, like, I had the outline done. Yeah. Just literally just written out in the notes app on my phone. But I didn't have, like, a spine of the story. I went through and I knew I needed to start with Enoch's interview, so I grabbed his interview. Yeah. And I cut all of me talking out of it, had his parts, and then I highlighted his best parts that I knew I was going to need. Yeah. And then the ones I knew I needed first, I went ahead and put in my timeline. So I had a separate timeline for them, and I created a separate sequence, separate timeline for each interview. And then, again, what good editors do is they create a separate sequence for the B-roll. I didn't do that. I just scrubbed through footage.
God bless you.
I don't know if the way I did it's the right way or the wrong way. That's the way I've always done it.
Whatever works for you, man.
I could probably learn the right way to do it.
Well, I mean, it's a lot to do with what you're comfortable with. Like, that's going to be the most, like, natural.
Which, honestly, a lot of it has to do with, I have a relatively decent memory, and I quite literally,
Don't say decently. You have a stupid good memory.
I memorize, as stupid as it sounds, I memorize nearly every single shot, and then as I'm doing that, like, I hear the interview, and he'll say something like, I was walking up a bridge, and I'll go, oh, I got this shot on this day at this time, and it was in this clip. Let me go find it. And I'll go through and I'll find it. I'll cut it out and I'll put it there. And then I'll listen to the interview, and he'll say something like, and we all did this. We went to the coffee shop and we did. And so I'm like, okay, there's a coffee shop. Let me go find that shot. And then I'll go to the folder and scrub through till I'm, okay, that's the shot I was thinking of. Yeah. And I'll cut it out and I'll put it in place. And I just go in order like that. And so I end up typically, unless it's like a super fast edit, I typically have nearly every sequence memorized, and I can look at the timeline and tell you what shot's what without actually scrubbing through it.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
So it's probably the wrong way to do it. It's probably not the right way to be editing. I should probably...
It's probably the least efficient.
Well, it's efficient for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I know the shots.
Yeah.
Like, if I was editing someone else's work, I would have to do it the other way.
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't have a choice, but I'd have to create a separate sequence and scrub through it, cut all the, the camera shakes and the stuff out that I don't need, and have all the good pieces. But I know what I shot. I know where the shot is. I know what that is. I know there was a sound of a bus, and this shot when we were by this street, and I need that sound, so I'll go find that clip, and I'll cut it out and use the sound.
Yeah.
Like, I just have it all in my brain somewhere.
Yeah, no, it startled me. It literally makes no sense. Like, video editing makes no sense. But Godspeed to every single editor out there. You're doing the Lord's work.
For anyone editing for their nonprofit, I would highly recommend not doing it that way. Unless you already are, then just keep going.
Yeah, just keep it going. Keep it afloat. Okay. You said that, you finished the documentary October 31st.
The deadline was to upload it was November 1st.
That's what I was about to ask. So you did mention earlier in the podcast that I say we, technically we because I'm a part, have submitted this to, what was it called again?
The Christian Worldview Film Festival.
And who is that hosted by?
The Kendrick Brothers.
Through Sherwood Church in Albany,
yes.
correct?
So the Kendrick Brothers made
Fireproof.
Fireproof, War Room.
War Room 2.
And then The Forge is the new one.
Yeah.
They create Christian films, and so they created a whole film festival for Christian films, and there's a section for documentaries.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting until it's March 12th, I think, of 2025. So we're waiting until like January-ish to find out if we were approved.
Yeah.
And if we are, our video will be hosted at the film festival.
Which is insane.
Which will be awesome. Right now I'm working on trying to find a way to do like, I might do a private showing and then do like almost a rent it online, just because I want money to go back to Enoch
and them, especially with the floods and everything.
Yeah,
that's been happening.
I want them to get as much funding as they can.
Yeah.
So even if it's $5-10, I think most people could spare $5-10 here or there. And why not have it go towards what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like, if somebody watches this and they're like, hey, I want a free link, just send
banana pudding
in all caps to our Instagram or Facebook or TikTok.
Translated into Thai.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. All caps, banana pudding.
And I'll send you a free link to watch it. I will probably have a donation link at the bottom so that everyone can end up, if you watch a free version or not, you can still have a way to go send the Kenway some money. Because I think at the end of the day, $5-10 is...
It goes a long way in Thai.
Yeah.
In the Thai baht.
Because that's like... $10 is enough for their whole family to eat for a day. It's not rent.
It's rent. That's what it feels like whenever it's like, 500 baht, and you're like, how much is that? Like $3. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But yeah, so we'll definitely send over the link if you message DM. Don't put it in the comments. We want people to listen and fully to the podcast, because this is going to be at the end. So we want people to listen to it to get here. And then, of course, like the reason that we make these documentaries, one is to bring light to stories that are not told.
Absolutely.
But secondly, like, we want to start using these documentaries as like you were saying, for like renting and everything, as 1334, that when we do make documentaries, rent them out, whatever, that the proceeds go back to the nonprofit that we worked with.
And if there's a way to figure it out, I wouldn't mind doing like a 50-50 so that some of the proceeds can go to the next project and the rest of the proceeds go to the organization. Yeah. Which I'm hoping, like, with this podcast, eventually we'll get like a sponsor here or there, and that could go towards like actually going to do this stuff, because we're fully donor funded. Like, we don't have grants. We don't have a grant writer. We don't have anybody. It's just a bunch of
ragtag South Georgia
I was
boys
gonna
and
say Wolverines
girls.
from Red Dawn. It's just us just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And we all have a heart to use media to impact people that need it, and help people tell their story. And it just takes money to fly to these places. And we're right now talking to a guy who is starting a jiu-jitsu nonprofit to help kids that have cerebral palsy or whatever,
Any disabilities,
whatever
really,
kind of disability, to get into a jiu-jitsu gym and get in for free and
pay their monthly, pay for rash guards, pay for gis, pay for
pay for whatever
competitions
they need
if they want to go to.
And start doing more. What's he doing? Like, he works for the Paralympics. I'm not sure if he's doing like a disabled jiu-jitsu.
There is a league.
Yeah, and I know he talked about helping some guys get into that league and
because
whatnot.
IBJJF has a
that's right,
a disabled league.
But like even him, like I want to create some funding content for him, but it costs money to actually get there and help him. You know what I mean? And it costs money to ask someone, "Hey man, could you take off work and go help somebody
for 4 days in this state?" Or, "Hey, can you take off for 10 days to go to Thailand to tell the story?" It's like, yeah.
And so I would like to have enough funding to be like, "Hey man, let me pay your whatever you'd normally make at work, and you can go help this guy."
Yeah. That's the dream. That's the long-term goal.
Yeah, that's the goal, is all these guys that have been volunteering faithfully to be able to be like, "Hey man, here's whatever you make in a week. We go help somebody, film this or raise money or film an event,
whatever
it is." But yeah, back to the edit. It almost didn't work.
Oh yeah.
So everything got corrupted.
I remember that phone call.
Every file was corrupted. Nothing worked, and I couldn't open the documentary. I couldn't edit it. It was ready to export, and I couldn't open it. And I talked to Adobe. I talked to everyone, and I couldn't get it to work. I came up here one morning, early in the morning, and managed to get it to open. I found a way to recover the file, opened it, got it ready to export, but then my son woke up, and I was like, well, I'm going to go spend the day with them. It's open and it's working. I saved it, closed it, and then that night when he went to bed, I'm like, okay, I'm going to export it now.
Yep.
And everything broke this time. Everything. Every single file didn't work.
Tell me the devil don't want a documentary to come out without telling me that the devil wants. He doesn't want a documentary to come out.
I have never been that close to quitting something in my entire life. I legitimately, I thought about not even trying. I wasn't going to try.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, if it didn't open, we were not going to be able to submit it to the festival.
It was like
at all.
It was 3 or 4 days before the final deadline, November 1st.
Yeah,
and so I was done. Like, I talked to Adobe for 2 or 3 hours. I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't fix it, and I was like, dude, I don't even worry about it. And I gave up. 100% gave up. And then Logan, my wife, that night, she said, are you editing? I said, no, I'm done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And she said, no, you're going to edit. She said, go to the store, get an energy drink, a Rain, and sit down on the couch and try it. Because at this point, the only thing I was able to recover was from the first week of September. So I was roughly like 2 months behind. Yeah. Which was like, what's that? 80-something work hours?
Yeah, give or take.
And I had 2 days to figure out what was wrong and fix it.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's literally no way. And then I did it, and I talked to my wife, opened the computer, and I went to open. I had the opened September something file, and I looked at it, and I was just crushed. I was like, "This is so far behind." I had like 20 minutes of the video finalized, where the full documentary is like 48 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, "There's no way I can finish this. It's just not possible." And I was like, "Let me try to open one of these other ones." Try to open one, nothing, corrupted. Try to open another one, corrupted. Open this last one. I was like, "Let me just see," and it worked. Makes no sense. It was corrupted. It did not work, and then it opened, and I freaked out. I think I did a backflip laying down, and so in that moment, I was like, "Okay, God's favor's on this. I need to finish it right now."
Yeah.
So I finished up so through all this, every time I had redone it, I had recreated the ending sequence, the credits and everything, 3 times. And I was like, I literally have no idea what shots I used at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know what goes where. And I had to reanimate the titles. I was like, I'm just going to start over from right here. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm just going to export it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I finalized the little ending credits, like 3 or 4 minutes, and did the little animations, and it took me about an hour, and I exported it. I was like, I'm not closing this thing down until I export it. So I managed to get it exported, and then I actually drove to your house to use your fiber. And
shout out to AT&T. You can sponsor this podcast.
Please get AT&T fiber at my house, please.
Thank you, Blackbeard. Shout out to Blackbeards, really, for getting. You have terrible food, but by golly, you gave me AT&T fiber optic, so I appreciate you.
But I was able to get it uploaded, and then get all the other things they needed. Like they had a couple clips that they needed for the festival and stuff like that. Managed to get it all together and uploaded. Hit the Dropbox link, and I was done. And I didn't think it was going to work, honestly. But I got an email saying it was submitted, so we're good to go. And I've got a private link up, and sending it to a couple people now, and finally, like.
Or if you type in banana pudding in all caps. Banana pudding. Pudding. Puddin. Pudding, not pudding. If you put a G, it doesn't count.
I'll send it if there's a G. That's the correct way.
I don't have social medias, so I can't really say anything.
That's true. You won't even know.
I won't even know.
We won't get a single one of these these DMs.
But no, I think that's a crazy testament to what this what the documentary like entails. And I won't go into too many details, and we'll finish it here. But like, literally from start to finish, this trip shouldn't have happened.
Nope.
This trip happened.
Yep.
We didn't have enough people, but yet we had enough footage.
Yep.
You didn't think the edit could be possible, but it was possible.
And then it was gone.
Then the edit was just completely gone. And now we're here reflecting back on all of what God had his hand on.
Yep.
And it's submitted to this Christian film festival. And it's just crazy to know that, like, through it all, God's hand was on everything.
Yeah.
And now we get to look back and go, man, that was crazy. The devil tried to stop it. But now we're finishing up this podcast going, everything should not have worked, but it did. That's the true story of Thailand. It should not have worked, but it did.
Let's end it on that.
Let's end it on that.